Hey, it's Jan of the Jan Files. Thank you for being here. If you're on YouTube, I'm surprised because they're literally practically shutting me down. I'm getting few views and I now have 196 people that I've lost in the past week or so. Anyway, whatever, fuck them. Um, this is a really important issue to me, and I have talked about this before in different ways, in different situations, but I'm gonna keep talking about it. And I'm gonna keep talking about white women who gave us Donald Trump, um, certainly in 2016, and at least played a role in 2024. Now, when I say played a role, I think there are a lot of things that affected that election, some of which I don't think we understand right now, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. But let me just point out white women, because I just went through something again yesterday in my very, very red town. We actually have somebody who's running for supervisor from the Democrats. To tell you how red it is, they haven't run a candidate in, I don't know, 4, 6 years for supervisor, which is an election that happens every 2 years, because the Republicans have this place locked up, even though the amount of Democrats is almost equal to the amount of Republicans. Now, why would that be? Well, let me tell you why that is. Okay. So, as you know, and I said before that I am very loud, that I stand up and I don't give a shit. And I do that in local Facebook groups. I've done it in front of the Board of Education. Typically, what I'm talking about is a lot of times racism, sometimes misogyny, and also just the lack of inclusion in this town that believes it is Shangri-La. And I can't kid, I'm not kidding you. They literally think this town is perfect. They think the supervisor who has been in place for 23 years is perfect. Their garbage is picked up. The streets are safe. What more could anyone want, right? In a local government? Maybe fairness, maybe not getting sued and having to pay $625,000 because we discriminated against Black people and people of color in Section 8 policy. That's just one instance. There are others. And so let's just be clear that this is a microcosm, what I believe, of the country to a certain extent. Because no matter what's on the other side of Democrats, it's about how Democrats behave and how a lot of white women Democrats behave. So let me give you my little scenario that just happened. I always volunteer. I always volunteer for local elections, whether they're for trustee or for their supervisor, or whether it's for the Board of Education, whether it's for congressmen, etc. I'm there. I'm canvassing. I send out thousands of postcards. I do all of this shit, right? And I also constantly respond to local Facebook groups in terms of when they say dumb shit like this is Shangri-La. They don't say that exactly, but they literally say, what more could you want? In other words, what we have is perfect. It's not perfect, folks. It's not remotely perfect. Another example is when the governor of New York what told us, or the state legislature, that all police departments had to do a review for discriminatory policies. And this town decided that the best choice to put that on, whether it was 5 or 4 people, were all white men. Yeah. The group that's supposed to investigate discrimination in this town and by the police department. And we also had to pay a $2 million fine for a Black man who was railroaded through the police department. At one point, they turned off the camera. So yeah, the guy was he's innocent, somebody else did it, DNA evidence, we had to pay $2 million because of how the police department handled that. Now, yes, the police have changed since then, it doesn't matter. This is the same town that, who the police chief's son stole his gun, was found in his trunk, and nothing happened to him. So you get it, right? Old boy, racist, that kind of stuff. So yesterday, the newest candidate for town, put out a very neutral position, just about she had held something to in a certain area of town and had some of the locals in a picture with her. Well, that created all this nastiness from the people who have what I would call townies. Okay. Literally, one of them called her a carpetbagger. So this is a town that doesn't welcome anybody but conservative Republicans. And so she's running, and I had said I would absolutely be there in September to canvass, to get the word out, to hold an event, et cetera, et cetera. But yesterday in this back and forth, I pointed the things out that I'm telling you about the racism, et cetera. And, yeah, a bot was there and called me a twat. It's a bot. Like, who cares, right? I get a text from this candidate's PR team basically saying they saw that people were being nasty to me and that they reported it and that, that she was part of the PR campaign and that, they really hadn't decided how they wanted to handle these kinds of situations. So in the meantime, would I stop posting? In other words, whatever the words were, was shut the fuck up, is what I heard. I'm not part of the team. Nobody asked me to be part of the team, but yet they felt that they had the right to ask me to shut the fuck up. And so I didn't respond too happily. Initially, I did. I was like, sure, done, gone, bye. What they didn't understand, who I text that to, was that I really meant done. I'm done. You need to find somebody else. I've gone through this with other Democrats in this town. You want to control what I say, and you don't want to upset the white women, the white Democratic women, because they're afraid. These are quotes now. Let me make you understand. I spoke to the candidate who told me that many of the people that are supporting her are afraid to do so out in the open. Why? Because they're afraid of their neighbors, because they're afraid. They're scared of the Republicans in this town. They don't want to put a sign on their lawn because their neighbors may say something. They don't want to let them know either by putting a sign or by supporting her publicly because they're afraid their kids are going to get bullied in schools. Like, what? They're literally fucking afraid of these townies who are nasty. They're nasty as fuck. There's no question. They're bullies. You can see it whenever they post. There's always somebody who goes there and gets supported by this town. And they're ugly and they're nasty. And that is not obviously everybody in this town. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm going to tell you something. White women who should be supporting this woman out loud are shaking. They're afraid. They're afraid their kids might get bullied. Fuck you. Are you kidding? And you know what my response is? And I told her this. Why don't they fucking try being black for a day? Let them walk out of the house. Let them or be in my shoes as I watch my black daughters and husband walk out of the house. It's different. It's very, 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 very different. I don't want to hear that you're afraid. I really, really, truly don't. I really want to just say, fuck you, because you have no idea what that means. You don't. And the fact that you're afraid of these assholes in this town, and that as a result, You're not gonna loudly support a candidate you believe in? This fear this fear that they're talking about isn't just here. This fear is everywhere. It's these little privileged white Democrats that want to maintain a sense of order that makes them feel comfortable. It's why a lot of the mainstream Democrats are attacking the DSA candidates because they make them uncomfortable, because they want to point out the wacko DSA and not the ones who are saying and doing wonderful things like Mondami, like Landers, like AOC. I really like the candidate coming out of Michigan. His name is Abdul El Sayed. Really smart, really focused, and yet we have James Carville and all these and Hakeem Jeffries and all these other assholes that are just basically saying, they're not part of our party. Fuck you." You know what? Do you know how kids are now excited by these people? But this is all stems. Even if you're Hakeem Jeffries, who is obviously not white, but takes that money, you and all of you who don't call out these other Democrats that are scared literally because of what? What exactly are the women in this white women in this town think it's gonna happen? Their kids may get bullied. That can happen anywhere for any reason, and you can't figure out how to stand up for your fucking kid? That ain't good, folks. That truly is not good if you are going to let, other people determine whether your kid is bullied or not, and you just rather be quiet. So I've got nothing for you. I'm done. All the shit that's happening. What you should be worried about is your kids being preyed on by pedophiles that this government embraces. Donald Trump, let's start now counting who he and his family, how many pedophiles are they friends with? Or how many has Donald Trump been friends with? Let's talk about it. I've told you about Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn was his attorney. He was the attorney in the McCarthy hearings for Joseph McCarthy. He was one of Donald Trump's best buddies and mentors. He was a pedophile. Obviously, Epstein was a pedophile. And now we have the Tate brothers being supported by Paolo Zampoli, who took them to Washington. If you one of the 30 people who saw my video, took them to Washington to show them the town. And then on Sunday, they were arrested on 59 charges coming out of the UK and asked to be extradited. Now, they have passports. They're British American citizens. They have 2 passports. But yet, here they are being touted by a fete in Zampoli's house in Georgetown. Again, the global ambassador for Trump of 150 people. Pedophiles. Accused pedophiles. Accused rapists. Here we are, right the fuck again. That's what we should be paying attention to. And we're not. Because these little fucking white women are too afraid. They have no idea. Zero. And I have no use for them. Period. Done.